We are trying to do paperless, so we do have an agenda with non-public as paper, and then everything else is on tablet. This is new to us. So,
We are live now.
all right, so you'll make sure Terry gets it on.
We just had a member from outside in, so I didn't want to do everything. Have that-
Nice to see you again. How are you again? Sorry, my hands.
You don't have them long enough to go over two tables.
Charlie.
Jim, welcome aboard.
Thank you. James. Good to meet you. See you again.
Yeah. I'll just say hi, I'm Duncan.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Sarah.
Sarah.
Nice to meet you. Do you prefer Ed or Edward? Ed, okay. Most comfortable?
Now that we
But
know what
now
he
I
doesn't
might
want to be
choose
called.
Eddie.
You can do anything once, I'm just saying.
What all relatives in sandwich? What all relatives in sandwich? Right, because they're
Wrong color.
assistant town clerk.
Easy, Mr.
What
Rodriguez.
For your name, please.
How would you
Wait a minute.
Long, not as long as yours. Not as long as sandwich. No, they had to continue
You may.
because of the solar.
Go back on 30th.
Okay.
Sandwich is
Barry? It's done.
Oh, sit down.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 second, it looks like I don't have any audio out of it. Just before you begin, that's all.
Folks, if you could mute your.
Huh. It was a little rough getting it going today, but let me see if I can check one more thing.
Maybe we can still start with the pledge. Give me a second, though.
Oh, there we go. It looks like we're there now.
All right. Well, as this is the first meeting after the elections, I'd like to officially call it to order at 6:01. And if we could all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment will officially open at 6:01. Maybe we should wait and actually do the reorganization of the board and then do public comment opening, just so that that part can take place without interfering with the public's ability to comment. So I will accept at this time any nominations for school board chair.
Madam Superintendent, I would nominate Charlie Hanson for chair.
Is there a second?
I want to second it.
Are there any other nominations to put on the table? Hearing none, please vote on the nomination of Charlie Hanson for chair of the Interlake School Board.
Aye.
And
Unanimous.
that is unanimous.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to turn the meeting over to you, Chair.
Congratulations.
So let's keep rolling with this. I'll entertain a motion for a vice chair. Mr. Porter Zuckerman.
I nominate Mark Billings for vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Starmer. Any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mark is unanimously elected. Next, we have motion to elect the secretary of the school board.
I would like to put forward a motion.
Yes.
Mr. Duncan Porter Zuckerman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Billings. Got all that, Ashley? Okay. Are there
Good
any
thing we're
other,
being recorded.
are there any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. So for our new members, welcome to the Interlake School Board. We're very glad to have you here. And just I'll mention it now, we started something last year that seemed to have worked very well. We consider these three positions the leadership team, and we meet the Thursday before with the superintendent to review the agenda and upcoming issues that we have to deal with at our next meeting. So feel free to contact any of us if you want to discuss something you feel that needs to be addressed, or the superintendent directly, certainly. So next up, we have the committee assignments. And we don't have to do this tonight. You see what they are.
Are they on
And
the
they're
agenda?
in your, on the tablet. They're not in the.
Yeah, they're in the packet that was sent to us, that Sarah sent to
They're
us.
attachment 1 and 2.
Safety, Meredith Capital Improvement Program Advisory, Facilities, NHSBA Delegate, and Region 8 Advisory Committee, Hewitt Technical Center. And there was some information about them as well, right?
I put what the commitment is, just to
Yeah.
give a sense of time, because I know that can vary for people. Certainly
So-
happy to speak with anybody about it, though, individually.
If anybody has a particular interest, please let me or Mary know
At some time or now?
at some time.
Okay.
Yep, whenever, so people have time to review all this stuff.
Is there a place, I guess, a website, a book, a pamphlet, something, where folks can look at these committees and see what their purview is? Like some of these, I couldn't tell you what the Region 8 Advisory Committee, who our technical center does. I don't know if I'm interested.
Right.
So maybe you and I can have a conversation. I can share with you what each of the committees.
I can say I did it last year and it was really interesting.
Generally speaking, the delegate is usually a new person.
It's true.
That might give you a sense.
Rock, paper, scissors over there.
Next up, Caleb, little update.
Yeah, so the Laker Bots competed at the VSU event on March 9th and 10th. And we'll be traveling to UNH on March 28th for the New England District event. Good luck to them. Spring sports are in full swing now and practices began Monday. On March 8th, Interlakes Middle High School staff and students participated in the 2024 Winnie Dip to benefit the Special Olympics. There were over 30 students who participated. The high school earned about $12,000 and was the top earning high school as well as the top average earner per dipper. And the middle school earned about $5,500 and was the third highest earning middle/elementary school. So overall, between the middle and high school, we earned a total of $17,390.
And they actually dipped this time.
We've been dipping.
I just remember when you poured water over me.
Yes, that was a couple years ago, but last year, this year, the year before, we've jumped in the lake.
And did you do it?
Yes, I've done it every year.
Also, the high school math team competed at the state meet at NHTI on March 11th with a total of 40 schools in attendance. Mathletes competed in both team and individual rounds. Overall, we placed in the middle of the pack in the competitive small schools division, which was impressive considering the number of people and how young of a team we had. Special recognition goes to Thea Wright and Caleb Terrell for perfect scores in recreational math, and to Samuel Cooley for a perfect score in algebra 1.
Well done, Caleb.
Music to a former math teacher's ears.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I forgot to open public comment at 6:07, so it's open now. Is there anybody online, Mr. Parsons?
I have nobody.
Okey-doke, we're gonna keep rolling. So next up, we have minutes from the February 7th, 2024 school board budget public hearing. Motion to approve.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
motion to approve the minutes of February 7th school board budget public hearing.
thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Porter Zuckerman. Any other comment on those minutes?
May I just interject? We did, as we went through them, there's some minor edits, nothing substantive, like some word usage and commas and things like that. If you're comfortable we'd like to just clean those up.
It's always good to take care of that. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I abstain because I was not there.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Starmer. So next up, we have the February 13th, 2024 regular school board meeting minutes.
So moved.
By Mr. Porter Zuckman, seconded by Mr. Billings. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes pass.
Mr. Chair, may I just comment that Sarah Briggs has been filling in for Heather Villamore. Heather has returned. She's working remotely the rest of this month and will begin picking up the minutes again. But Sarah did a really phenomenal job. It's not,
She did.
she has never done minutes and has jumped into this and did a really commendable job, particularly with very, challenging minutes when you have a
But-
long public hearing.
But in her former job, she dealt with chaos, so she
Yes.
fit right in.
What was her former job?
Absolutely. So I just wanted,
She was support for like 30 or 40 different people remotely.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
God.
so I just want to publicly commend her.
Very good. Thank you, Mary. Next up, current bills payable. I'll entertain a motion to approve the payment of bills manifest number 3020.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Starmer,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Billings. Any questions or comments on the manifest? Hearing none. All those in favor? Paying the
Aye.
bills. Opposed? Very good. Administrative reports, Mrs. Dolph.
Thank you. In your packet, attachment 6 is the latest year-to-date financial report. Currently, or this report is showing that, again, it's a snapshot in time. So this report is showing that we have about $815,000 available. We are, again, always watching where our spending is, and over the next, I would say, few weeks, we are going to be digging into open purchase orders so we can get a better sense of where we're looking at for the end of the year.
I was gonna say, what amount of that 800 plus is encumbered?
So none of it,
None yet.
right?
That's the exercise.
Yes. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has them.
Questions for Mrs. Dolph?
Is there a spend plan based on, and do we assume a straight line? We're 50% through the year, this is me just asking questions for my.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, we're 50% through the year, so we were 50% through our budget, or is there a spend plan that says, no, we expect to see a big expenditure during
At the
first
end.
quarter and whatever kind of thing, so.
So we try to excuse me. We try to encumber everything that we are aware of throughout the year. So we don't typically see spikes because most of our dollars are spent. You can see that there's 2.46% left right now. So we're anticipating the usage of the rest of it.
Right, but is there, if we know that there is going to be a large expenditure of funds in February that would take us off of the straight line glide path, do we say, hey, here's where we're at? Yes, that large expenditure came in right where we thought it was going to be. I'm not asking if we're
Yeah,
going to,
yes.
I'm not asking if we have enough to go
Yeah.
through the year. I'm not
Oh, okay.
asking if we're going to spend it all. I'm
Okay.
asking, is there a spend plan that says we expect to spend this much of the 100% at this point in the year?
So we're looking at that all the time. And if we say in February, we're thinking, gee, we had some unanticipated costs that are taking us kind of off course because we have to end the year in the black or
Right.
zero.
Right.
And so we could possibly find ourselves needing to freeze the budget, which might mean other things that we had planned come off the table. We've been very fortunate not to be in that position.
Okay.
At the moment, we're healthier than I would have anticipated because we have been funding a lot of unplanned special education costs. Some of that, what assisted with that is at the end of last year, the board did encumber some end of year fund balance, which the board has the authority to do, to move those funds forward. And that has helped. Plus, we did not hire all of our paraeducators So having those funds in payroll has helped to offset the special education costs. But what we try to encumber all year-long expenses at the very start of the budget,
Right.
July 1. So like putting in the purchase order for all of payroll, which very large part of our budget is people, contracted services. So trying to put in that purchase order, which will encumber those funds for the whole year.
So you expect to see a spike in, I said spending, but I should say income.
You will see a great number of encumbrances
At the beginning.
yeah.
Which would take us, we're not 10% through the year, 10%
Right.
encumbered, we are 10% through the year and 40% encumbered, which is what we expect to see because of what you just said.
Right. I think we're saying the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
Have we capped entirely previous year's encumbrances?
So I believe we have more than used up the special education money that you encumbered forward. Also, the board had encumbered funds for the school resource officer. Because that individual was, we weren't able to put in place till January.
Right.
Some of those funds will assist with next year's expenses.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anything else on financial reports or questions for Ms. Dolph? All right, next up, we have new business, softball and minority groups. Mrs. Moriarty, do you want to just start this?
Sure, so I did put attachment 8 in, which I don't have an actual copy of that. Can I give a copy? I just want to give it to the family. We're trying to go digital. I don't know if you have your device with you, but let's give you an actual, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna pull it from here. That might be the easiest. You'll have to share, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, again, this was a citizen's request to come on to the agenda, and I did attach a school board policy for your information, how that can take place. Just some information about softball. So last year in the fall, we only had 8 students who were interested in softball. There was a need with a varsity schedule to get that information to NHIAA, because when you commit to a schedule, you are committing that you can field a team. And so without having enough players, 11 is probably the lowest you really want to go. You can run at 9, but if somebody was to get hurt or out sick, you are forfeiting games. You need 9 on the field. That our program was really, was in need of some time for people to develop their skill set, as well as hopefully to develop more interest. So we were not able to run a high school program last spring, and made that decision in the fall. And Ms. Dumais did come to the school board and shared that. And there was arrangements made so that students could play on the middle school team, which is very atypical, but it was a chance to continue to develop skills and have some time to play the sport, as well as hopefully maybe garner some more interest. So in the spring of 2023, last spring, 8 high school students played on the middle school softball team. One was a 9th grader, one was a 10th grader, 5 were 11th graders, and one was a 12th grader. And one student was grade 8. So, in terms of thinking about, moving up to this year with high school students, we'd obviously, the 12th grader would not be available, but the hope was that the 8th grader would be. So we felt pretty confident the end of last school year to be in a place to run a junior varsity team. The feedback we had was that still the skill set was not where a varsity level team would be, but we thought, given that we have the players, we would be in a position to run a JV team. Come this year, spring athletic interest was sent out. It was done through office hours at the middle high school. And unfortunately, softball only had 3 students that were interested. What we understood is the kids who indicated interest, or that we thought had interest last year, either migrated to different sports or opted not to play athletics. So we found ourselves only with 3. Ms. Dumais was trying to be responsive to some requests and did do some additional opportunities to try to garner some interest. The number went from 3 to 5. So there still was not enough to run a team. And as a result, we are not in a position to offer JV softball this year. You do have in your attachment just to show the scope of offerings we have. I think it's important for people to realize we are happy to field a JV softball team if we had enough students. It's not that we made a decision to cut JV. It's that student interest drove the decision that we don't have enough students to run the team. But you can see we offer, for school our size, we offer a wide variety, and that there are some unique opportunities. Girls may play football, girls may play ice hockey.
We did even pursue a cooperative.
Yes, yep. So we have tried, we've tried Moultonborough and Newfound, and at this time, they're not interested in pursuing a cooperative. It's not something that we will stop trying to, see if that's an option. But I think probably the future, relative to numbers, is a cooperative is, if somebody is willing to join as a cooperative, if NHIA is willing to support that, because that is a process. That might be the long-term solution, but at this point, we don't have somebody willing to join us for that. We do have, in the spring, lacrosse is a cooperative with Moultonborough, and if we did not have that cooperative, girls lacrosse might be in a position of not being able to run because we only had 9 students express interest. So. So that is kind of an overview of softball. I do know the parent is here this evening as well. I don't know if you like.
Mr. Klein, would you like to comment?
Sure, I would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Derek Klein. I grew up in Santa Harbor. Both my parents are educators. Chosen to move back to the area. My daughter Gracie is here. She's had interest in playing softball as well. So I just wanted to just bring my experience to the school board and let you know. So last year when I found out there was not enough girls to field a team, I met with the principal and the superintendent to express concern. And I was told that we need more time because of NHIAA scheduling. And so she participated in the junior high softball team, which was fun, but the girls are playing at a lower level because it's junior high and not high school ball. In any event, at the sports awards, there were, I pulled the girls there. It seemed like it was, there would be enough girls to field a team next year. I met with the superintendent, the principal. We were like, everyone was confident that it would take place. And then there was I found out in February there was just not going to be a team. And it was just really disappointing to me to go through the efforts to come to this building and to meet, and then all of a sudden find out through Gracie that, wait, we're not having a team. And I wish that I was, just informed about it, considering the efforts I took to make sure there was a team the next year, like coming in right after the sports awards, because I knew there was a scheduling issue, to make sure that Interlakes offered a team for the next year. And so obviously you can't make people play. I get that. With regards to the cooperative efforts, I asked to review the documentation of the cooperative efforts that have been taken, and there were none. I understand that there's phone calls to be made, but if we're really going to try, we should send letters. We should maybe see if other schools besides Newfound and Moultonborough, want to join with Interlakes. Does Interlakes have leverage with other sports that it uses or does a cooperative effort with. And so I just wanted to bring my concerns to the school board. I really appreciate Mrs. Moriarty, putting together this packet, spending the time with me in her office to discuss this matter. But I think that Interlinks can, do better, and we can make more of an effort to try to offer this great sport to our kids. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dadden.
I just would like to say that respectfully, the efforts to create a cooperative, that there's a process to that happens. And that process is exactly what you just outlined. We reach out to schools with the divisional implications of people that we would like to cooperate with.
Mhm.
A cooperative has to be mutually beneficial to both teams. A team isn't going to sign up to have a cooperative if they've got the amount of students that they need to be competitive in that sport, if it isn't going to be as beneficial to them as it would to us. Those efforts were made, and there was nobody that we would have reached out to that would have fit our needs, that was willing to have that cooperative with us. That is that effort that you're speaking about, and that did happen.
So it might just be helpful for people to understand, when you create a cooperative, what happens is they will take the combined enrollment of the two schools that are the cooperative. So for some places, it would bump them up in a division, which might then make them less competitive. So that's, you can petition down, and there is a process for that, but
You
if,
forfeit playoff implications.
yes, you forfeit being able to earn a state championship.
Was any of that communicated? Any of the reason for that, any of those considerations communicated to you, sir?
That was discussed in our meeting when we met initially.
I don't think so. It wasn't. But, maybe there was a miscommunication.
Okay.
Ms. Dumais, did you have a comment?
Just one additional point for the co-op situation. The NHIAA will not allow two districts to co-op if one of the districts can self-sustain their team on their own. So it's only permitted if both schools need each other to make the team happen. So if, say, Moultonborough had 30 kids on their team and we tried to co-op with them, the state wouldn't allow it either, because they don't need us. They can sustain on their own.
And the state is the New Hampshire Interscholastic
Athletic Association.
Athletic Association.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Billings.
what are the longer term ramifications if we were to able to get to enough students for next year? Even though we didn't field a team this year, can we get back in the league?
So I think, well, first of all, it's in the budget, the funds are there. I think that it's whether or not the skill set will be at a varsity level. I would imagine where we have not had JV this year, and we have middle school is running, that, it probably would be a JV starting next year. And again, if there's interest, we are certainly open to running that.
So there's no NHIAA restriction against it?
No.
Thank you.
Jim.
Well, I'm seeing
Yeah, I think that was-
Ms.
that
Dumais
was
shake
right.
her head differently.
Well, technically, in the bylaws, if you pull out from the team, they can hold you accountable for pulling out your schedule. We didn't do that this year because we were going to have a JV schedule, so that's not the situation. Next year, it's the first year of a 2-year cycle. However, if we knew ahead of time, there's a chance that we could get on the schedule for the following year. Next year, we would definitely be a JV team. That's where our skill set would be anyway, and then schedule-wise, the schedules are already done for next spring for varsity level.
So then, but in the second year of the 2-year cycle, you could jump up to varsity should you?
We could petition the NHIAA to allow us, if our skill set was there, and we could petition the NHIAA.
Great.
And past practices, they've granted that.
Great. Sorry, back to Mr.
Yeah,
Long.
no problem. So my first question was just around the schools. So right now Moultonborough has their own softball team, and so does Newfound. Are we able to do like potentially 1 or 2 offs where it's not a cooperative, where students could go over and participate at just a level like that?
The NHIAA does not
It's not
allow
allowed,
that.
okay.
At the middle school level, you have much more flexibility because it's not NHIAA.
Gotcha.
High school becomes much more complex because there's potential for athletic scholarships, championships, things along that line. So they have a significant amount of rules.
Are there questions regarding the softball issue? Anything
Chairman?
else? Mr.
Yeah,
Klein?
thank you. With regards to other cooperative sports such as football, like, does Interlakes have a cooperative team with Molten Borough and other?
So we have, our cooperative teams are football, and that's with Molten Borough. Lacrosse is also, boys and girls is cooperative with Molten Borough.
Do you need players from Molten Borough for the football team?
It helps. Football teams are, I think, traditionally much larger than other athletic teams. So it was originally, I think it began as a cooperative.
It started
As a cooperative. So it has sustained that way. For ice hockey, I should say, is also a cooperative. So ice hockey is with Laconia and Winnisquam and us. That's a three-way cooperative, which my understanding is NHIA is not overly
It
thrilled
just
to
gets,
have.
it gets more and more complicated as you add more cooperative
Yeah.
schools, but we do our best to serve kids, so.
That's the max that they allow, those three.
So those are all our cooperatives.
You all said that?
Yeah.
All right, Mark.
It may make sense just to take a minute and review what our enrollment is in the spring sports. Because track and field has historically been the largest by far, and I think it's 67?
And that has changed. So do you have current numbers? I know I can read what was the interest.
Oh, it's, the numbers are higher.
Okay.
Yep, if you give me 30 seconds, I can pull that up.
My phone book crashed.
Your Chromebook crash?
Well, it says welcome, but that's about all it says.
Is there a limit to the or a target to the cooperative? So say someone was willing to accept us and we only provided one student, is that acceptable? Or is there like, do you have to have 5, do you have to have 10?
No, there's no minimum number, but like Ms. Moriarty said earlier, it has to be beneficial to the other school. If they're not, they base where you compete on the total number of students enrolled in those schools. So for instance, I approached Franklin also for the co-op, but they already cut kids from their program. So, but if they were to take us, they have to count our enrollment plus their enrollment. So now instead of competing in Division 4, they would compete in Division 3.
Right, with the advantage of only one new.
Correct,
Yeah,
right.
And they would say,
So it's
There's
not
a, yeah, and it's
advantageous.
mutually beneficial and advantageous.
How is Molten Borough specifically on that? Would that jump them up if we had to do something like that in Molten Borough?
There's also a rule that if you have enough to have a JV team, then they don't allow you to have a co-op team.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah, I know I'm asking a lot of questions.
no, but there's a
I'm
lot of
I'm
factors.
thinking-
There are a lot of factors.
Okay.
And the Franklin conversation happened after I put a memo out. That was, you were recently at a meeting.
Well, that
That
was,
you asked.
right, that wasn't gonna be for the season. That was still, again, trying for the future to line something up, but. So our numbers for this spring, we currently have 16 for high school baseball, 25 for high school boys lacrosse, 21 for middle school baseball, 5 for boys tennis, high school, 50 for co-ed middle school track, 27 for high school track, 13 for high school girls lacrosse, 17 for middle school softball, and 13 for high school tennis. Those are our current registered numbers.
Okay, thank you.
And the season started yesterday.
Thank you.
Mr. Caudell?
So, I'm gonna put some words in your mouth and spit them out if you tell me that I'm done serving correctly. I think what your concern was that you brought before the board was that all of the information that seems to have shared here wasn't clearly communicated to you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
That, like, I think you've gotten some clarity here.
I have gotten clarity, and it was just, one of the things is I put in all this effort up front to try to ensure that there was a team, and was just shocked when there wasn't, and it wasn't brought to my attention.
So
You know?
Again, what I hear you saying is, hey, if we had communicated with you and said, hey, like, I know you worked really hard on this, but this is what's going on, and this is the reason why it's not happening.
Yeah, or how can I help to try to develop a solution?
Right.
You know, instead of just like just a simple polling that goes to office hours, is there something that I could have done to just reach out to some more schools as a concerned parent? I just think it's really important that we try to embrace this sport. And yeah, one other thing I thought about, and I did discuss this at the meeting, was fielding a team that doesn't have 11, that maybe not even have 9, but you use other student athletes from other schools on your team to field a full team. So while you wouldn't be playing for wins and losses to get you into the playoffs, you would still the students would still be gaining skills. Right? Scrimmage, just having scrimmages, so it would still be offered. So, and that was shot down, but, I think that it's still a viable option. It's in the budget. I think,
Mr. Klein, that was shot down because it's not allowable. And we did share with you that NHA doesn't, that's not something that we can do.
Right. The NHIA does not allow scrimmages at the high school level from the start date of the first date to play till the last date to play.
So I did share in the correspondence that varsity softball needs 9 players to start a game. If someone gets injured during the game may finish with 8 players. It is not a practice at the varsity softball level to have the opposing team provide players. The same rule applies for the JV softball level. However, schools we are competing with may be more lenient because it's JV.
Ms. Conley.
Yeah, I was just curious, how often do girls opt to play baseball because they just want to play ball and there's not a softball team?
I have to turn to Mr. May, I'm not sure.
It's not common.
Yeah. Okay.
It's allowed. It's just not that common. But it's an option for sure.
Yeah, it's an option to try out for the team.
Yeah, I noticed it and I was curious, like, how.
Also, with your
stand
comment,
up and ask.
I just want to talk about your comment. Also, I thought about that idea to practice for baseball. However, like they're 2 very different sports. And it's at 2 very different standpoints when it comes to playing with other teams. Like it's a girl like playing with a guy, like guys team. And I previously tried that last year instead of playing for the middle school team. However, there was an overwhelming amount of baseball. There was like twice as much as they needed to make a full team. So it was like I wouldn't even get any playing time anyway if I were to play baseball. And it was just not really like a reliable option at the time.
So I think one of the things is that we run a lot of spring sports and we're a small school. And that is what creates a lot of challenges to keep programs viable. It's hard when we don't have enough students and people are making choices that are different, and to be able then to build programs is tough. So it is one of, I would say, a root cause of the challenge is being a small school and offering a really pretty comprehensive athletic program that is probably maybe more designed for a larger school population.
Mr. Billings.
Can a student play 2 sports in a season?
I don't know the answer to that.
Technically, yes.
I mean,
Practice.
personally speaking, I ran track and played baseball.
Wow,
So,
you had a lot of energy.
well, shocking.
And the schedule worked.
Yes, I didn't make all the track meets.
Any other thoughts on softball?
One final comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On the cooperative with Moldboro on football and other teams that, we've heard this evening that Moultonboro students may not be needed to field the team. If that's the case, then that would be, I guess, according to Ms. Dume, that wouldn't be allowable. And so if we're going to do that, or perhaps maybe Interlake says, well, we don't need you, but if you want to stay, you have to take some softball players. I mean, this may be some negotiation point, so Interlakes can offer both sports and, both schools can work together. I know Gracie has friends in Moultonborough. We all are one big community. So, just an idea. I really appreciate the school board's time and effort and the dialogue and discussion this evening.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rotary Youth Exchange Student Request.
So you have materials in your packet.
Paperback.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Porter's up.
the past practice has been, if there's reason, we would go into non-public. This seems fairly straightforward, and I, as a board member, would be comfortable voting to accept this student in public session.
So for our new members, so whenever we get the personnel issues or student issues, some things are, this is pretty straightforward, we do this every year, but feel free to say at that point that, no, I definitely want to go into non-public about this if you have questions or concerns.
Okay.
But, does anybody want to go into non-public? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second, by Mr. Porter and seconded. Any other discussion on our Finnish friend, soon-to-be Finnish friend? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The student is approved.
Thank you for your support.
I have just a question in terms of the process. Does the student have a host family assigned already?
So Rotary sets that up,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if they've already got that secured. I know that Dean, who I believe is on the call, is working hard to do that. So Rotary takes care of making sure all those details are in place, and they've done an exceptional job. So, and we know the students are always placed in really positive experiences.
I did speak with him before the budget meeting, the budget vote meeting. And, if he's on the call, he could say this, but he said it's getting increasingly difficult,
Yeah.
particularly to find a family with a student
Yes.
in the school. So, which is too bad because it's such a wonderful.
We gain so much from it. And, as much as the student gains that's coming, I think as our school community, we gain
Does
so
the
much
host
too.
family get a stipend?
I'm not sure about that. That's a good question.
I don't think so, but I don't quote, speak with him about it, but I don't think they do.
Oh, did we lose the?
No,
We're still good?
no, Dean raised his hand. We normally don't have interactivity with the public other than through comments at interlakes.org. So by default, his microphone is turned off and his video is turned off, so I can turn it on if you would like. But
He is the
raised it.
representative with Rotary, so that makes sense.
Dean Elysian.
I can make him visible. He's right here, and so through the settings, I have him turned off, but I could turn him on if you'd
Why
like.
don't you turn him on if he wants to
All
say
right, let's see
something?
what we got. Dean, just be patient for a moment here. I gotta go into my settings. We sort of locked this down once upon a time, just to make sure we don't have general people from the public who are not approved joining in. All right. Dean, are you able to turn on your microphone on your camera now?
This is like,
That's a VP.
You're able to unmute them just from his.
Well, I had it set that everyone was muted, but I just turned it.
There he is.
There he is.
But he is muted.
Let me make sure I have your host management. Turn on their microphone is now checked, so.
He might have to unmute him.
Yeah, Dean, how about your microphone? Are you able to turn that on?
That would be no, Mark.
Try and see if I can do it. Let me see. We got. I think I hit all the toggle buttons.
Can you just do it like hovering over?
Yeah, can you just,
Yeah, I don't think I.
What's the middle red dot?
Yeah. You can't unmute.
There you go.
Huh.
You can't unmute someone else. Interesting. Turn on their video, turn on their microphone. Well, you're welcome to send an email to comments@interlakes.org, and I can read those comments to the group. You can also, I'll turn on the chat. You can put it in the chat and we can type it there if you want. I'm not sure why your microphone is not working. Let me see if I can turn mine on at the risk of having some feedback. Yeah, my microphone's on.
So Dean, are you good with sending us a chat? And we'll just keep moving on, but we'll come back once we get it fully received from you. Thank you. All right, we have professional employee nominations, 24-25. Mrs. Moriarty.
So this you most likely will want to go in non-public, and then when you come out of non-public, make your
Okay.
decision relative to nominations publicly.
Okey-doke. Next up, we have donations. I'm going to do these per group. So the first is the After Prom Party Student Activity Club, donations from the Interlakes PTO in the amount of $1,000. Davenport West in the amount of $250. Real Estate LLC in the amount of $250. And Heart and Hands Thrift Shop in the amount of $1,000. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved,
by
Mr.
Mr.
Chair.
Billings, seconded by Ms. Starmer. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, Robotics Club used for future robotic activities. Peak Properties, Belknap LLC in the amount of $750. Miracle Farms Landscape Contractors in the amount of $500. And Bryant Paving in the amount of $852. You guys are impressive.
Yeah, I think
Amazing.
we're over 50,000 so far.
Incredible.
Well done. Motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Twiddell, seconded by Duncan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I'll come back to you, Mark.
Sorry to interrupt. Yep.
I'll be there in a second.
Yeah.
Quebec City trip for the band and chorus, Meredith Rotary Club in the amount of $480. Move to approve.
So moved.
By Siobhan, seconded by Mr. Twiddell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All good. And then the Principals Fund to assist the Student Support Room and student needs, Hearts and Hands Thrift Shop in the amount of $1,500.
So moved.
Second by Nancy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the last thing is the Alpine Ski Team race fees, practice fees, and equipment. And with donation, Meadowlark Natural Building in the amount of $250.
So moved.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. So now we're back to Mr. Gulesian. Gulesian.
So I just gave my cell number, so if he wants to call, I can try and put it on at least speakerphone, but and here he is. Ignore that.
Oh my God.
A long story behind that. Oh, hold on, we got feedback here. Thanks. We gotta mute this. I never had my ringer on, by the way.
Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Okay, can you all hear me? Or?
We got you, go ahead.
Great. I just want to answer the two questions that were raised. Yes, we do have host families for next year.
Great.
They all have grown children. We have nobody in the school system whatsoever that's hosting, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's the way of the world these days. And to answer the other question, nobody receives a stipend to host.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. thanks.
Great.
Thank you to you and Rotary.
Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. We are up to old business, 2024-2025 school.
So you have the proposed school calendar. We brought it originally back in December. And just as a reminder, it does have 179 student days and provides an additional day for professional learning to assist with the number of trainings that we are required to do and needing to do for staff.
Excellent. I would entertain a motion to approve the calendar
So moved.
by Mr. Billings, seconded by
Me.
Siobhan. Any other questions or comments on the calendar? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Next up, we have correspondence. Any correspondence, Mary?
Not this evening.
Mr. Reporter Zuckerman, it's been all of 45 minutes, so you don't have any
The
correspondence?
Secretary of the Board has no correspondence. Thank you.
Do any other board members have any correspondence? Seeing none, we're moving on. Public comment, it is now, Mr. Parsons, do we have anything?
I have nothing online.
Nobody? Chris, you all set? All good. Great, I'm closing public comment at 6:49. I would entertain a motion to go into non-public session.
So
Moved by Ed, seconded by Nancy. Mr. Porter Zuckerman, would you please poll the board?
Mr. Coelho, you do support going into non-public?
I do.
Mr. Locke?
Yes.
Ms. Starmer?
Yes.
I do. Ms. Conley? Mr. Billings?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
I do.
And the
All in
reason.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I
what-
thought you had finished.
No.
And you want me to read it, Don?
Yes, I do.
This
I don't have
includes
it.
matter for RSA 91A3C. This includes matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board unless such a person requests an open meeting.
We're in non-public.